Origins of Vanisher. A powerful teleporter with the ability to move himself and passengers across the planet in a single jump, the Vanisher was one of the X-Men's earliest enemies and a recent member of their X-Force strike team. One of the first adversaries of the original X-Men, the Vanisher first encountered the young team of mutants shortly after his first public appearance as a supervillain. He had robbed a bank and proudly announced that he was going to steal top-secret government defense plans from the Pentagon. Word of Vanisher's exploits traveled quickly through the criminal underworld, and criminal bosses from all over flocked to meet him. Petty criminals believed that if they took him as their leader, then they could not be stopped. Therefore, Vanisher soon accumulated a gang of criminals that had pledged their allegiance to him. Making good on his threat to the government, Vanisher teleported within the heavily guarded room where the defense plans were located. Before the guards could stop him, he was gone again. That was when he first encountered the X-Men, when he appeared outside the building. However, they were able to do little against him. He evaded every physical assault with his rapid teleportation, before disappearing entirely. With the country's defense plans in hand, Vanisher sought to blackmail the United States government by threatening to turn their defense plans over to the communists unless he received $10 million. Therefore Professor Xavier came up with a plan to defeat the Vanisher. With the support of the government, the X-Men waited to ambush Vanisher outside of the White House. With an entourage made of crooks and mob bosses, Vanisher was still overconfident from his first encounter with the X-Men. However, he was taken by surprise by Professor X's mental abilities. Professor X telepathically immobilized Vanisher by filling him with great fear, and then by mentally blocking his mutant powers, preventing Vanisher's ability to teleport. Finally, Professor X removed the Vanisher's memories. Not a complete mind wipe, but selectively removing the memories of his powers and the sense of his own identity. Essentially, the Professor had ensured that Vanisher would no longer be a threat to the world. The X-Men were then able to quickly round up the Vanisher's criminal lackeys, while Vanisher was taken into police custody. Major story arcs. Factor 3. Eventually Vanisher regained his memory. Returning to crime, this time he sought out other criminal mutants and joined Factor 3. They were a subversive organization of mutants that sought to use their powers for world domination. Factor 3's plans were to start World War III between the United States and the Soviet Union. Naturally, the X-Men opposed the scheme, and through their efforts, they soon met Vanisher again. Unpredictably, they joined forces as allies. It transpired that the leader of Factor 3, the Mutant Master, wasn't a mutant. Instead, he was an alien, a member of the Cirrus race. The Mutant Master intended to conquer the Earth. Therefore the rest of Factor 3, including the Vanisher, teamed up with the X-Men to defeat him. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. After shamefully being used by the Mutant Master, and teaming up with his enemies, Vanisher decided to lay low for a while. However, Vanisher came out of hiding again in order to fight the champions. As a member of the new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, he used reprogrammed Sentinels to fight the champions on his behalf. Predictably, he was defeated by the champions and was trapped in mid-teleportation by Dark Star. A similarly short-lived scheme occurred when he joined a group of villains who challenged the Fantastic Four, but again he was soon defeated. After traveling in another dimension with Nightcrawler, Vanisher returned to Earth. Settling down in the backstreets of New York City, he veered away from major crime in order to boss around runaways. Young teens who ran away from home found a home in the Beat Street Club, where Vanisher groomed them as petty criminals and thieves called the Fallen Angels. However, he was lazy and the kids were aware that he relied on them to do all the hard work. Hence, Boom Boom soon grew tired of taking his orders, and tried to turn him over to the mutant hunting team X-Factor. However, as soon as Vanisher saw Iceman and Beast disguised as the mutant hunters, he teleported away, leaving Boom Boom to be caught. Other members also left the group, but Ariel and Chance began to reshape the team and fill it with more mutants and superpowered kids. Ariel brought Boom Boom back, while newcomer Gomi and his two cyborg lobster friends Bill and Dawn found runaway New Mutants, Sunspot and Warlock. Once again, he would slack off while leaving the kids to go out and scavenge or steal food. Characteristically, he would always vanish at the first sign of violence, including when he came face to face with alien dinosaurs during their search for Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy. However, his powers of teleportation didn't help him when the fallen angels were taken to Ariel's home planet, the Coconut Grove. Ariel's true agenda was to collect as many mutants as possible. Her race had reached a point where they could no longer evolve and they wished to study Earth's mutants. However, she switched sides when they also imprisoned her, alongside the other fallen angels. Vanisher often relied on her teleporting abilities more than his own, but he was completely dependent on her powers to teleport them back across the galaxy to Earth. The fallen angels disbanded, leaving only Siren and Multiple Man to try and steer the young mutants on the right path and not be too badly influenced by Vanisher. The new enforcers. After losing control of the fallen angels, Vanisher kept to himself for a period of time until he was forced against his will to attack the new warriors and other superheroes. Darkling was a superhuman who also used energies from the Dark Force dimension, which he used to code other super-powered villains and heroes. The Dark Force then took over the darker parts of their minds and controlled them, including Vanisher. His appearance surprised the new warriors, and naturally caused trouble when he couldn't be attacked because of his teleportation. Vanisher and the others remained trapped and controlled prisoners of Darkling until Firestar used her microwaves to loosen the strength of the Dark Force. Once freed, Vanisher naturally teleported away. Later, Vanisher joined a second incarnation of the Enforcers. The new Enforcers were a consortium that operated in obscurity. Along with Eel and a woman named Blitz, Vanisher became involved in a clash between the criminal organizations AIM and HYDRA. They were confronted and soon defeated by Spider-Man powers. The Vanisher has the psionic ability to teleport himself and a certain amount of additional mass. One of his biggest demonstrations being when he teleported himself and 5 others, Archangel, Domino, X-23, Elixir and Wolverine, into a lab in Japan. Telford traverses through the Dark Force dimension when teleporting, much like Cloak. He has an extrasensory ability that does not allow him to materialize within a solid object. He has teleported from Southern California to Genosha in a single teleport with 7 passengers. Aside from his powers, Telford is still very resourceful and intelligent, and he has some knowledge of robotics, enough to reprogram Sentinel robots to perform certain tasks. He is also a capable leader and tactician who utilizes his own and others' powers fairly well. He has enough skill in hand-to-hand combat to defend himself in a fight, and has some athleticism about him. He has the average amount of strength of a man his size and build who engages in regular exercise.